9 Plus Us presents the Baseball Together podcast with your hosts, Blackjack Brad and Kansas City Little Big Briggy Blue Eyes. And now, Baseball Together.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Baseball Together podcast, Baseball Family. I am Brad, and as per usual, just about every week, we've got Brig over here to... Hey, stuff happens. It's fine. It's not a big deal. If it was, I wouldn't give you a week off, but that's why I do. Yeah, you're right. So anyway, Brig's here with me. Brig is here.
Hey.
Well, this week we're skipping
again.
So this week we're skipping current events. You can see that those of you watching on YouTube, I have my Orem Owls hat on because we were joined by the commissioner and the president of the Pioneer League in Jim McCurdy and Mike Shapiro, respectively. So we're going to share that interview with you this week and sit back and enjoy and listen to us minimally.
Welcome back, baseball family. We are thrilled to have you back with us. We have a couple of guests on the show tonight. We've got Mike Shapiro and Jim McCurdy of the Pioneer League, and we're hoping to discuss with them all the ins and outs, as much as we can anyway, in the time that we have, about what it takes to run a baseball league, how the teams are decided upon, and we got a lot of questions. But as you know, we have to get them. They got to get caught in a rundown, so we're going to hit them with some questions right now. Mike, the first question's yours. What is your quest?
Well, at the age of 70, my quest is to see some grandchildren someday. Who knows? My second quest is to see the Pioneer League become reaffiliated with Major League Baseball in some form or another. And I would say my third quest is to shoot my age. I shot a 78 the other day, and I'm aiming for that. That's a big deal to me.
Yeah, that's what I shoot on a par 3. All right, Jim, the next one's for you. What is your favorite color?
Boy, it's changed over the years. I think maybe a blue, maybe something of this shade. Don't you think? What do you think? That's good?
That's good. Yeah.
This is reality TV type.
That's right. Mike, if you were to describe Nomar Garciaparra in one word, what's the word you would use?
I love the explanation to his first name. And many people do not know that Nomar was named Nomar because he didn't want to be called Ramon. Nomar is Ramon spelled backwards.
I did not know that.
You come to the ballpark and learn something new every day.
Wow. Woo. I had no idea. That's amazing.
You asked the right question.
I mean, we could walk off with that, but we won't. Jim, next question for you. What is the maximum allowable age to bring a ball glove to a game?
Well, you'll have to ask someone older than I.
Oh, really? I guess I'm answering that question. I'm not older than you are. I mean, maybe
slightly younger. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think, Mike? What do you have an answer for that question? I don't see.
No. There is no maximum age.
No maximum age. Yeah.
No.
This is a hotly debated topic in our age group.
No, you bring a glove, you get a ball.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine some 80-year-old dude coming without a glove and a line drive is coming at him? Sorry, you got to have the glove. You got to flash.
We should require every person to bring a glove to the ballpark, probably.
I agree.
Yeah, you got to flash the leather.
Yeah. Well, and that sets up one of the conversation topics that we have primed for later. So we'll table that for a moment. But okay, Jim, since you avoided that question, I'm gonna hit you with this one. How would baseball be different if the Brooklyn Dodgers had not moved to California?
Perhaps the Salt Lake Club would still be in the Pioneer Baseball League.
Ooh, interesting.
You know, that reminds me of something that I heard when I went to a mediation conference at Harvard, if we can go in this direction.
Go ahead.
Gorbachev had been there the month before. and had been asked a question, and one asked him, how do you think the world would be different if Nikita Khrushchev had been assassinated instead of John F. Kennedy? And what do you think Gorbachev's answer would have been?
I have no idea.
That's a terrific question.
He said, I don't think Ari would have married Ms. Khrushchev.
Okay.
I will answer Jim's question yet again. So there's an interesting theory out about that. If the Dodgers were able to get the city of New York to put up the money to keep Ebbets Field or to build them a new ballpark, and the Giants as well, they would not have moved west. The Mets would not exist. However, the next team that was likely to move west because of stadium issues and market problems were the St. Louis Browns, who became the Baltimore Orioles, but they would have gone west. And who would the second team have been?
The New York Yankees.
No.
Philadelphia?
Huh?
Philadelphia A's?
The Philadelphia A's. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Another thing, though, Branch Rickey had his eyes on the Continental League and was going to bring in San Francisco and LA and so forth. And part of this move was to cut the heart out of the Continental League idea by taking the large market. So maybe you'd have had a competitor league that would have become a third.
Very interesting. And, you know, that's a question that we've had on our list for a long time that we always ask people just to throw them off balance. That's the first time we've ever had an actual answer. And that's tremendous. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You haven't had Mike Shapiro on your show before.
That's true.
Probably never coming back either, Jim.
Have you talked to ESPN or anybody, Mike, about
what's that?
Have you talked to ESPN or anybody about it? I mean, I think Jim Bowden and others are, you know.
I'll talk to anybody.
I think you need to show.
We'll call them.
We can syndicate it right here, right? You know?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
For sure. Yeah.
We'll do it together.
All right, next question for anybody who wants it. This is a free for all. Besides original, what is the best sunflower seed flavor?
Well, I'm a ranch guy. I don't know about you, Jim. I don't see you spitting a lot of seeds these days, but
I'm a natural guy.
Yeah. I'm a ranch guy. I can go ranch. I like natural, but I can go ranch.
You know, I used to not think I could go ranch, but apparently we did a blind taste test with seeds, and apparently I love ranch sunflower seeds.
I'm just telling you. I played up until the point they had ranch, and then my kid, when I stopped playing ball and my kids started playing ball and they're spitting seeds, I'm going, no. You're violating a prime rule of baseball. You can't go outside of original. And they said, look, Dad, you need to adjust with the times with respect to a lot of things. But notwithstanding, they threw some ranch at me, and I have to say, I'm good. I'm good with ranch.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Yeah. For a baseball purist, I'm good with ranch.
Do you have a seed company that'd like to, be a league-wide sponsor or something in the Pioneer Baseball League?
We would love to do that. My favorite sunflower seed producer is Biggs. They do, I think, the best job in the business. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Brad disagrees.
David. Well, yeah. Okay, sorry. I was thinking Spitz. Spitz to me is the worst. I do like Biggs, but David to me is
I'm
like
a David guy. Yeah.
So the next question, I'm going to give both of you an opportunity to answer this as well. If baseball were an ice cream flavor, what would it be?
I would go Oreo cookie and cream, because that includes the diversity of baseball. It's just the sweetest game there is, and I just can't get enough of it. How was that for an answer? That was pretty patented answer.
That was passionate.
I like that answer, but I don't know. Cherry Garcia.
Cherry Garcia.
You guys know Ben and Jerry's from Vermont, right?
Yeah.
Well, we ought to be getting some ads on the show. We're spending a lot of products.
We are.
I know it. Yeah, you would think we would get more. with the way we do these things. Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right. I've got another one for both of you. If the Pioneer League were a beverage, what would it be?
Well, I would start off because Jim needs to take some time to think through these things, but I'll jump in and say RC Cola. It's a classic.
Mhm.
It's steeped in history, but it's not given its due for how wonderful it is and how refreshing it is and how different it is. And you know what? It's an old classic, but it never lets you down. Top that one, Jim.
The old classic I remember, maybe it was just a Southern drink, was in a smaller bottle, and it was called Grapette. You can Google it.
Okay.
Grapette?
Grapette.
Grapette.
I remember it from as a kid. RC Cola was awfully sweet compared to Coca-Cola. So there's Dr. Pepper, which is a Southern drink as well.
Yeah, but the Pioneer League's not in the South, thank goodness.
No, but RC Cola is not there.
No, but RC Cola, it's a little different than everything else.
It is. Do we serve RC Cola at the ballpark?
Nobody serves RC Cola.
Can you still get it? I haven't seen it. Can you still get RC Cola?
I don't know. I mean, frankly, I didn't like it as a kid either. But
No.
There's a lot of things I didn't like as a kid that I like now.
right,
though.
but now, you know.
And Mike, who was your favorite band during your upbringing a few years behind me? Was it Big Brother and the Holding Company or?
My favorite band of all
Jefferson?
time, at least, so now Jim's asking the questions. My favorite band of all time was the Allman Brothers.
Ooh, nice.
Southern.
Southern rock.
They like RC Cola.
Yeah, love the Allman
You
Brothers.
can tell it with their music.
Jim, same
Excellent.
question to you. What's your favorite band of all time?
You know, there's a singer. In fact, last time I talked with him, he was living in Jackson Hole, just over the mountain from Idaho Falls, where our club is. A lot of people come from Jackson over to see the games, and his name was Tom Rush.
Oh my God, I love Tom Rush.
He was up in your country, Mike.
Oh, I used to. Well, when I was in college at Georgetown, I worked in a nightclub called the Cellar Door, a classic place that when you want to look at some music history, check out the Cellar Door. And Tom Rush was a regular there, and he did Jackson Brown's Child Song better than Jackson Brown.
Wow.
And Tom Rush was one of my favorites.
No, he did
Good
these
guy.
days. He did these days as well, probably better. But can you believe Jackson Brown was a teenager when he wrote that song? Don't
Yeah,
confuse
I
me
mean,
with my failures. I have not forgotten.
I have
mean,
not
he's
forgotten
74 years
them.
old to say that sort of stuff.
I wrote a book, and that was, you sometimes you put the quotes in front of the prologue, and I use that line. What was it? Don't remind me of my failures. I have not.
Yeah, with
Don't
my
confront me with my failures. I have not forgotten them. What a great line.
These guys
That's a
are
great
young
line.
for this, I think. Isn't that right?
Well,
Oh man, I can't believe
no.
you like Tom Rush. You're the
Yeah,
you're
no,
the
I
best.
met him in Austin, met him in Spokane. I said, Tom, where are you living now? He said, I'm in Jackson Hole. I said, how did you get to Jackson Hole? He said, I just woke up there one morning.
Well, he hung out. No, I can tell you probably a lot of the connection was through a lot of people wound up in Jackson Hole in that area. All of them were kind of that genre of Colorado singers that ultimately, all came like Pure Prairie League and ultimately the Eagles, but they all were following John Denver, who was a big Aspen guy. Anyway.
Yes, and John Denver, there is a group from Spokane where I live, by the way, that grew up. They were Gonzaga Glee Club people called the Chad Mitchell Trio.
Oh yeah, they were awesome. That was John Denver.
Yeah, and Chad Mitchell decided to go solo in a Sinatra type thing and do cabaret clubs in New York. And so they brought in a guy whose name wasn't John Denver at the time, but it was John Denver to replace him.
Mm.
They also had a person named Jim McCurdy that was with them. He played the guitar because the trio did not play instruments. And he joined the Byrds and changed his name to Roger.
Roger McGuinn.
And Two rock and roll Hall of Famers, none of them the original.
Wasn't Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, and I know we're far afield here, but wasn't Harry Chapin part of the Chad Mitchell trio at one point?
I have not heard that, but I will talk with it because we know
I will look through it.
Lives here in town, as does Mike Koblik, who was one of the original Chad Mitchell trio, and I'll ask him about that.
Harry Chapin was one of the greats.
Oh, yes. And we have, though, in Montana, a great history, if you want to go in this direction. Goodness gracious.
We haven't talked about baseball yet. But
We talk about ice cream and sunflowers.
Ice cream and music, man.
The margarita guy.
Jimmy Buffett.
Jimmy Buffett was in Montana, along with, goodness gracious, a writer that wrote Trout Fishing in America, Richard Brodigan.
Yeah.
In the group, and they all hung out together. And Tom McGuane, who is a writer, married Jimmy Buffett's sister, and they were all right down the road in Montana. So,
all right, you want to talk baseball?
Yeah, let's take a quick break. When we get back, we'll talk some baseball. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I never get back with me. Root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
Shop kids' baseball shirts at 9plusS.com.
I'm Jason.
And I'm David, and we're the hosts of the Non North Sports Podcast. We're the home of sports talk for everyone. Join us bi-weekly as we talk about the happenings in sports.
You can find the Non Sports Podcast on Anchor.fm, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and wherever else you find your podcasts.
Welcome back, baseball family. We have with us Jim and Mike of the Pioneer League, and Brig and I are just made of questions, to be honest, with everyone here, because we've expressed our connection to the Pioneer League. Brig spent a whole season in one particular seat with the Ormals, and I spent an entire season in the press box with the Ormals. So we have strong connections to the Pioneer League. We have these guys here, but the first thing we want to ask about is this knockout home run tiebreaker thing instead of extra innings. I mean, first, where did this thing come from?
Well, it's been something percolating in the back of my twisted mind for some time, only because and by the way, it has very little to do with what it's become known for, which is incredibly entertaining and fan engaging and exciting. It was actually born out of basic economic and health and safety principles. The basic economics of it are that at the low minor league levels, particularly, if you keep the gates open for extra innings and you're an operator, you lose money. You have to keep your staff going. You lose baseballs. That's $5 a pop. And you've got no corresponding revenue, because by the time you get to the 9th or 10th or 11th or 12th inning, nobody's buying. Well, beer's been shut off. No, everybody's eating hot dogs. I mean, they're not. The few people that are still there aren't buying anything. So it's a cost center. But even more importantly, perhaps, is the health and safety of players at this level. When you have to run through your bullpen because you've got to play extra innings, you're putting a lot of wear and tear on young kids' arms. And we don't have ready access to a pool of players like a major league club would with their minor league system. They can just call a player up. But at this level, we don't have that ability. So we are running a tremendous risk of hurting players and of not being able to readily replace them. So in thinking this through, it became clear to me that even the international rule, which Major League Baseball is using with putting the runner on second base, still doesn't resolve the problem, because you can still go 10, 11, 12 innings. I've seen it. and it still costs you money. So we wanted to come up with something that would get over quickly, but might keep a few fans around because it was going to be interesting and kind of fun, and give the players even something to get excited about, and not just go through the drudgery of all these extra innings. And so if you look at other sports, soccer, hockey, they have face-offs or shootouts or whatever, and we thought, well, what's the corresponding action in baseball? And that would be, and again, I don't use this as a anything other than a term of art, a home run type derby thing. That's a copyrighted name which we do not use, but we call it the knockout round. And I would say, and Jim, you can comment further, but it's been tremendously successful.
Well, tremendous. This is vintage Mike Shapiro, and PBL knockout is what we call it, and it has just been tremendous. It is always better if the home team knocks it out.
Yeah, I'll bet.
It has all the quality of a walk-off, and the players sort of treat it like a walk-off, and that's exciting and that's fun. I just did a tour of the league and went to a game at every ballpark, and I think out of the 8 games I saw, 4 of them were tied in the 8th or the 9th, and people are talking about, wow, I hope it stays tied. We're going to get a knockout. We can't wait to see it.
Yep.
Wow. That was one of the thoughts I had, was as you're talking about how like everybody gets excited for it, I wonder how often home teams are like, we got a runner on second, let's just leave him so we can do a knockout, because that's a good time. Because I talked to actually a kid when I was in college. He was a former pitcher, and we were in the 13th inning of this college game. He goes, man, if I'd have been on the mound, this game would have been over. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, I don't do extra innings. He's like, if I'm up there, if I'm pitching in extras, I will groove one and give up a home run. He's like, I don't stick around for extra innings.
Yeah. No, I've heard that before as well. I mean, extra innings are reviled in all levels of baseball. We just had the nerve to go ahead and do something about it.
It's pretty bold. It is pretty bold. It's pretty radical. And that's why we love it, right? We need change in baseball. And Mike, I know you said you're a purist. I would consider myself a purist as well. But what did you see any major backlash when you were presenting this idea before it was vetted, before people got to see the proof of concept?
No, our general managers and our managers and our owners were all supportive of it, because they understood that, again, this was just not some quirky move, a change of the rules to create some buzz and to do something goofy. It had real economic and health and safety reasons, as I said. And I think that resonated with ownership and with the general managers who have to manage to a budget. And everybody knows. I mean, it's one of the worst kept secrets certainly in minor league baseball, how awful it is to have extra innings. And so we just said, well, why do we have extra innings? Let's just get it over with. I mean, listen, our business, there's a truism, and it's a parable, and it's the parable of the family of 4. And the family of 4 leaves a ballpark, and they say among themselves, wasn't that fun? We're going to come back and we're going to do it again. We had such a good time. And by the way, we should tell our friends that we all had such a good time. And the young child says, yeah, I had a great time. By the way, who won the game? We've done our job. We've given family of 4 a wonderful time, and the game doesn't matter. And so, again, you can't take yourself so seriously that at this level of play, yes, you want to see these kids succeed. And yes, for community pride and all that, okay, get it a little bit. But by and large, it's all about entertaining families and friends and folks who are coming out for a lovely summer night at the ballpark. It has less to do with wins and losses than at the big league level.
Yeah, Brad and I talk about that all the time. One of my favorite things, I prefer minor league baseball over major league baseball for that reason. And I make that very clear. I've been to minor league ballparks all over the country. It's one of my favorite things to do. I invite them with me as often as possible. I had a group come with me 2 Sundays ago to the Greenville Drive game, and they had never been to a baseball game before. And they said, I had no idea it could be so much fun. I had no idea it would be so enjoyable. And there were 4 kids. The youngest is 12. The oldest was, I think, 16 or 17. It was a great experience, but you can talk, right? Yeah. And then you can watch, and you don't lose the nuances of the game.
I've spent my entire career in either major league ballparks or minor league ballparks, and I can tell you that they are vastly different experiences. Mm-hmm. And you go, and I am not weighing one against the other or saying qualitatively one is better than the other. I love Major League Baseball. I love to watch the best athletes in the world perform the most beautiful game in the world. Yeah. All of that is great, and it has its purpose. But there's also an entirely different reason for going to minor league games, and that is we don't want to spend a fortune. We just want to go out and have a nice night out with our friends or with our family. Let the kids, have some fun hot dogs and ice cream, and let's just all have a good time. And it's not going to break the family bank. So, it's a completely different experience.
Yeah, it's apples to oranges is what it is.
It is.
You're
really
exactly right.
Yeah, because that's like I go to a big league game to watch the game. Like, I don't want to be bugged. I don't necessarily want to be talked to too much.
Yeah,
Brig experienced that last week.
I took him to an Arizona Diamondbacks game, and flew out there and took him to a game, and he was like, "Stop! I'm an extrovert, right?" I got the whole section saying, cheering with me, and Brad's sitting there like, "Shh, stop!" It was so funny.
Yeah, but I'm more like Brig when I go to a minor league game, though. I'm willing to sit and talk to people around me. But back to the knockout real quick, though. I do have a question for you because, I guess you've kind of already answered it, but I just want to make sure I'm, on the right track here. Because my initial thought was, why not play 2 or 3 innings before you go in? Before you go into the knockout. But was that ever considered? Was it considered, go maybe to the 12th inning, 10th inning, or just straight in, just economically sound, go straight into it?
It defeats the purpose of playing any extra innings. Again, if I always said if I were the president of a league, I would do away with extra innings altogether. And I became the president of a league, and the first thing I did was get rid of extra innings. It's the one promise I made in life that I actually kept. That's not Just kidding. Just kidding.
The reason I had that thought was just because, like, in soccer they'll play like extra time, and hockey they'll play an extra period and things like that. And that was why I had the initial thought. But when you explained it the way you did, just get rid of it. It makes sense. It makes perfect sense.
It serves no purpose in minor league baseball.
Nor does it doesn't keep the audience engaged either. And you're right. Like every way you shake that down, you've made the right decision, I think. I hadn't thought about it that way either. That's fascinating. So, Mike,
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was going to say that, again, back to the experience that, Jim and I were together at a couple of these games, and it builds up an anticipation that, oh my goodness, we may get a knockout. We're going to stay. And it changes the psychographics of the fans that, oh no, we're going to get extra innings. Let's get out of here. Let's beat the traffic. As opposed to, shoot, we may get a knockout. We got to stay and see that. Big difference.
Yeah. And it's got a definitive ending too. It's not, you're not going to, have to potentially sit there for a whole nother game up to 18 innings.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So my next question is for both of you. What else would you change, right? If you had your druthers, and you do, what other changes would you like to implement?
Well, we did make other changes, unfortunately, because of the publicity that the knockout round got, the other key changes that we made got a whole lot less attention. But we created a designated pinch hitter and a designated pinch runner, and that was born out of, again, a feeling that with the designated hitter, a lot of strategy was taken out of the game, in my opinion.
Same. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
I think we can all agree on that, actually,
Yeah.
as much as I like it.
There are precious little things that you can do to put strategy back into the game. So one idea that we came up with was, what if you were able to take that light hitting shortstop who's coming up in the bottom of the eighth, pinch hit for him, but then put him back in defensively at least one time a game. You're giving the manager another tool. And the same thing. Let's say your slow-footed catcher gets a base hit in the top of the eighth. You take him out for a pinch runner. You get to put him back in. I mean, I just thought that those were cool wrinkles that just haven't gotten the kind of attention that they deserve. Because if you ask the managers in our league, they'll tell you that, that this really helps increase the tools that they have to help manage a game.
Well, and they're developing themselves as well. They're right. It's not just about the players at this level. It's also about the managers and all the coaching staff. Everybody's working their way up. Everybody's trying to hone their craft and improve their career.
Yeah, Jim, you want to talk about the managers?
Well, the managers generally are the ones we have today. They develop, they may do well here, and some have been, not all have been with a major league club at some point in time in our organization, but our managers are generally older than the development players. We have a 3-year limit, experience limit, but we define a year a little bit differently. Back in the old affiliated days, if you spent 1 week or a day on somebody's active roster, that was a year's experience that counted. But we say for a position player, if you didn't play 45 games in a year, it doesn't count. If you're a starting pitcher, if you didn't start 10 games in a year, that year doesn't count. If you are a combo relief pitcher or a combo pitcher, you need to have appeared in 25 games for that year to count. And we don't count the Dominican summer, just like affiliated ball does not as well, and some others as well. So we did a couple of things. First of all, our league has been around a long time, since 1939, and we were a full season league, a Class C league. And to put things in somewhat of perspective is all of these, say Rocky Mountain, Inland West, cities had teams back around the turn of the century on. It was the U.S. Army that brought the baseball in some form to the Native Americans, and they played in the 1880s and the like. You may know the story. Mm-hmm. And but in the 29 crash, many of the teams went with the crash and died at that point in time. And it took 10 years to get the Pioneer League going again in 1939 with a pharmacist in Pocatello, Idaho, named Jack Hollowell. And he had others as well working. And we were a Class C league, full season, starting in the spring and going through September. To put things in perspective, I think Denver didn't get its team back until maybe 1942 or so, and they were Class D, one level below Pioneer League. And the Pioneer League, with all the leagues after World War II, I say all of them, many were dying, teams were going, and Major League Baseball needed a Class A league, and the Pioneer League rose to the Class A level. Then in 1964, Major League Baseball incorporated an experiment, and we became short season. In 63, the Appy League had become a short season league as an experiment. And the next year, Major League Baseball restructured as they did this last year. And the Pioneer League suddenly is a short season league, and only 3 owners stepped up thinking they could make it. A 4th came in Caldwell, Idaho. And we had a 4-team league. It was up to 8 by 1970, whatever. And so we've been around a long time. So we've got, really stable ballparks, stable communities, stable ownership, and the like in coming forward. But that's interesting. In the other restructure, we became a short season. Now we're back, as I started this, where we were. We're a full season league. And we're hiring our own players. Most of the teams in 1939 hired their own. Branch Rickey had a farm club. Cincinnati had a farm club. The Yankees would move in. One of our clubs was a farm club of the Spokane Hawks, and the Spokane Hawks were a farm club of the Seattle Rainiers. So things were different, back in that particular day. But we're kind of back where we started. I call it the third era.
Jim is talking from experience because he was a ticket taker in 1939.
My soul, my last life. Yeah, that's where I would have been. Yeah, there's something about this baseball that Mike Shapiro's in baseball. I'm in baseball. Brig and you and Brad Nasty are in baseball. It's why do we spend our time in baseball? There's got to be something spiritual about it or something in that.
I 100% agree with that. In fact, that's one of the things that we like to talk to people about is what is it? Right? What is it that keeps us going? I mean, I wasn't even an athlete in the baseball capacity past my freshman year of high school. So, I played other sports and did other things. And then, my life took me in different directions, but I've always hung on to it. And why? I don't know. It's magical.
Gosh, I was, 37 years old when I got into the game. Mike got into it much sooner, and I would have loved to have been in his position. Bobby Brett, who owns the Spokane Club, George Brett's brother, looked at me one time and said, are you crazy? You've got a law degree from the University of Texas, and you want to be in minor league baseball? He would have said the same thing to you, Mike, except you got into the major leagues right off the bat where the carpet is much better. For the San Francisco Giants, if I remember correctly.
Not at Candlestick Park. The carpet was really awful there. My first gig I went to, when I got released I played indie ball out of college, and I made it 8 games because I am short and left-handed, and there's no place to play. So when I got released, I went to law school because I didn't know what else to do with my life. And my first job after passing the California bar was general counsel for the Giants, and just, kismet, whatever.
Wow.
And then from there, I stayed with the Giants for like 12 years, and then I went on to the Braves, and then the Nationals, and I'm still actually with the Orioles. I split my time between the Pioneer League and the Orioles.
In what capacity?
Attendance capacity or my capacity?
No, your capacity with Baltimore.
I was executive vice president up until the pandemic, and then I left my little apartment in Baltimore to come back home here to Northern California to be with my family, and I kind of decided I didn't want to go back as much as I love Baltimore, and I love the fact that my office was in the warehouse, and all the folks in Baltimore are just terrific, from ownership. Everybody's wonderful there, but I wasn't into going back to live alone in an apartment in Baltimore after having come back home with my family, and so made a deal so that I could continue doing the things that I was doing, but do it from here. So right now, I still do the in-house legal work, but I'm also developing the Orioles' new Dominican Academy, which is a total labor of love and a piece of whatever legacy I'm going to leave behind will be that academy, because I just in love with the Dominican Republic and what baseball means down there. Mm-hmm. That's another long story about that stuff. But
I was going to say that sounds like a whole other episode that we can do. Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah. I'm curious just about the Pioneer League itself. What exactly does it mean to be an affiliate league? Because we've seen like all the leagues that have gone independent, and there's still they're independent leagues, and with everything that's gone on. But what exactly specifically does affiliate league mean?
That's a perfect question for the professor.
Affiliate league receives its players from Major League Baseball, and Major League Baseball pays the players, pays the managers, coaches, trainer, and provides a lot of materials and so forth. And they split cost and all, and that's affiliated ball. And as you know, in the restructure this last year, the commissioner office decided, in looking at McKinsey economic reports and others, they needed to restructure for various reasons, and decided to close 42 plants and lay off 1,400 workers, and that's business, such. And thus we are now, as we say, hiring and paying our own players, right, Mike? And a number of other expenses we are covering that otherwise would have been provided by Major League Baseball. And it's great to have Mike come in here. And I think his kind of virtual relationship now with the Orioles allowed you to do this, as I would understand it. And we got Henry Hunter, who's just been tremendous. We have another worker and 2 interns. So we're having to take on our own streaming. Major League Baseball BAM is conducting our website, or what would you say?
They're hosting
Not
it.
hosting it, but we're providing the content. Next year, we'll probably take on our own websites and those sorts of things, properties, the whole bit that we've relied on, that we not only have to take under in terms of the burden, but also the expense of it. But we're also freed of a number of limitations that we would have been under as a member of what we used to be called the National Association, what was originally the National Association of Professional Baseball Leagues, now called Minor League Baseball, which is on its short life as such. As you know, the commissioner's office is now contracting separately with each one of the teams. And you've got, for instance, the old Northwest League. 6 of the old Northwest League teams are High A West teams now. I always think it's a Y when I look at it, but it's High A West. And they're pretty much run out of the commissioner's office. So you don't have the Northwest League or the PCL, those leagues. But the Pioneer Baseball League is still around. And,
one of the other interesting wrinkles to all of this, and Jim said it perfectly, but baseball has created this new relationship with several of the top independent leagues, which include the Atlantic League, the American Association, the Frontier League, and the Pioneer League as partner leagues. And the exact impact and implication of being a partner league, I think, is still being hashed out and worked through. We're doing it kind of by experience, and we're trying to fashion what the definition of all that means. But there's still an association and a connection between Major League Baseball and the Pioneer League, and I think that as we move forward into the future, we'll know more about what that really is going to mean.
Right. No, very, very well said. Exactly right.
Yeah, sorry. I think I meant that's what I meant was partner league instead of affiliate.
Affiliated league. Okay.
Yeah. I'm glad you cleared that up.
Yeah, those are terms of art. So
Yeah,
I don't know who art is, but
when we are a partner league with Major League Baseball, and we'll see where that goes. And what the industry demands, and what works for both parties, if you will. Multi-parties out there, so we'll see where it goes, how it evolves.
Right. And you have a new set of stakeholders to listen to, right? Like you get to pay more attention to your fan base than you probably ever have been able to in the past.
There is that. Over the last years, minor league baseball and the affiliated sense evolved over the years. In the last number of years, we've had so many second and third year players that were true prospects, not just bodies to fill. 15 years ago, that wouldn't have been the case. These guys were just needed to be a body. And if you were there in your second year, as you probably remember from Orem, but as it evolved, if one did very well in the first half, most of the time they were moved up. And the second half team bore little resemblance to the first half. We had pitch counts and all of those kind of things. It can be very well defended, and there's a purpose for them. But it was different from the old. Not only the old days, but affiliated ball as we knew it, a decade ago. And so this is really different. We've got players that are our players. Mike, how many players had we decided we've sold to Major League Baseball at this point? Is it 10, a dozen?
Yeah, somewhere between, I think it's 10 or 12. Yeah. We don't sell as many players up to Major League Baseball as, say, the Atlantic League or the American Association, because our players are so much younger and they're still in development stage. Although some are, even at that level of experience, still viable and available to major league clubs. But we do sell some players up, and again, I think in the long run, there's probably going to be some attention given to players going both ways, and who knows. So, but again, I think this has been the first year. We all knew this was going to be an experimental year for the relationship with Major League Baseball, and we're looking forward to seeing how it evolves.
My question to you guys is: did they give you a chance to ramp up into startup mode, which is kind of what I'm hearing, or did you did they just cut it off and say, good luck, here's the playbook we think you should use, and go forth and do good things? Or was there sort of a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 implementation plan, or anything like that?
Jim, you were around during that transition. I wasn't here then.
There is a memo of understanding with Major League Baseball that has a number of different features, but
Okay.
no real plan. We decided on 96 games at probably negotiable, from a year-to-year basis. And there were a few things that are pretty well set, but it left a lot of room to roam because I guess, Mike, this is to be true to say, you've read the MOU. There was no model for what we're doing.
Yeah, no, it's scant with respect to what in fact it means, and I think that when you're talking about the ramp up, I think 2021 is the ramp up.
Right.
I think it was this first year, and there are some provisions in the agreement that say for 2021 it's going to be this way, but in good faith we'll talk about 2022 and going forward. So for all intents and purposes, this year is the ramp up.
I think that's really neat, and it's so exciting to talk to both of you who have the opportunity to make it whatever you want to make it. Right? You get to craft this thing, and you get to build it, and people are coming. Right? You build it, they're going to come, and that's what's happening. I love it.
Yeah, no, I think looking forward, the key issues for us is the extent to which we expand the league, the other communities that the league will come into, and I think we're looking at a whole range. Jim mentioned Henry Hunter, who's our Vice President of Business Affairs, who's working through a whole digital marketing and broadcasting wing to the league that I think is going to be revolutionary. I think we're looking at a really substantive business in terms of tryout camps and prospect leagues and showcases, and we have a very vibrant social responsibility program working with the MVP program that's connected to the historically Black colleges and universities. We're working with USA Baseball on coaching clinics in our local communities, as well as school programs to talk about using baseball to help teach kids with math, for example. So we are expanding the realm of what the Pioneer League represents. Jim mentioned earlier that we're looking at having our own division for properties and controlling our own licensing. It's just begun. We've been around. My tenure began in February, and I think we've done some remarkable things, including rebranding the league. We have new league logos, as you can see.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's no remaining buffalo skull in our logo, which I think a lot of pagan ritualists are upset about. But everyone happy.
30 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, we are
cap character you may have seen, but there were no coonskin caps, and maybe there were.
So you talked about expansion. We talked a little bit about this last night when we were talking, but I want to know, is there like a minimum cost to buy a team in the Pioneer League? Like if I wanted to go in and say, I want to put a team in Price, Utah, I don't know. What would I be looking at just to get in the door to talk to you about that?
Yeah, I'll give you the same answer I gave you last night. I'm not telling you. No. No, the answer to that is there is no answer to that. Every market has different characteristics, and the cost of putting a franchise in certain markets depends on the size of the market. It depends on the nature of the facility that you are either building or retrofitting for minor league baseball purposes. There are a number of variables that are essentially a discussion point when somebody comes to us and says, "Look, we'd like to move a team to Price, Utah, or wherever, and here's what our proposal is," and we would say, all right, let us take a look at that market. Let's take a look at the facility plan that you have, and let's assess that value against maybe what like clubs in the league are valued at. It's not an exact science.
Sure. No, it sounds like an art, and that's the best part. So, yeah, Brad and I have pipe dreams of owning a team one day, and I don't think it's a pipe dream, honestly, but we would love to support a community through baseball. That's our whole thing, and owning a team seems like the perfect way to do it. And we're not alone. We have a lot of people in our following, our audience members, and we call them our baseball family, that want to support local baseball. And so that's why we ask questions like that. We want to know and give them opportunities to understand what it actually takes. So you're saying we need to do market analysis. We need to have the city on board for maybe a bonding opportunity, for building permits and zoning and all that kind of thing. But also we got to look at demographics and analytics with earning potential, spending potential, all that, everything, right? It's a business proposal.
Well, as part of the process, you'd be asked to produce a business plan, and those are the kinds of issues. But I mean, there's one really critical point to all this, and Jim and I both have, in our checkered past, have been operators, and I don't know, Jim, if you came out of the experience of being an operator of an independent league club or an affiliated league club the same as I did, because my experience was that the 7 years I spent in owning a club in independent ball versus all of the other years that I spent in Major League Baseball as a suit were the best 7 years of my baseball life, other than when I was playing. Those were the best years ever. And I would love to be able to have played to, forever. But when the 7 years I spent owning and operating a club, I learned more about the game of baseball than I did for the sum total of all the other years. I learned more about what baseball means to a community, what it can mean to real people, not just big stadiums full with multi-million-dollar players and TV contracts and all that, but just operating a team as a small business, because that's exactly what it is. It's operating a business in a local community and taking your players to the pediatric ward at the local hospital, or doing fundraising events for local nonprofits, or going to school reading programs, all of that which you do as a minor league operator are the most rewarding times you'll ever have in your life. Jim, I mean, that was my experience.
But without a doubt, I've been involved as the president of the Pioneer League for 27 years, Mike, or something. I'm doing it in the commissioner now. Great to bring Mike in, because we got all these other things to do as an independent, bringing in Henry Hunter, and we could probably use a couple of more. Isn't that right, Mike? To do the things that we can see as the opportunity would bring in for making a startup type business. But there's nothing better than running. The number one thing is running a ball team. The rest of this is the second best. But running a ball team is the best thing in the world.
It's not for the faint of wallet, however. No.
Or the heart or whatever. And the stories you could tell just off the ballpark.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very,
and the wonderful promotional stuff that you can do. I mean, I'm oftentimes asked, what was your favorite, goofy promotion that you did? And I did them all. And obviously, I think the best one that I ever did was in partnership with Eric Burns, who's an old friend who played for the A's. Both of us consistently bemoan strike zones that each individual umpire has. So we created the first automated balls and strikes, and did that several times. For a breast cancer awareness fundraiser, I put my players in league of their own dresses, and they played, and we auctioned them off. Tom Hanks signed one, and we auctioned it off and made money for breast cancer awareness. All the crazy. I once gave away a free funeral. So, those are that was so much fun.
And you guys are aware of Dave Baggett up in Ogden and the crazy promotions that he ran. And he would always claim that he was bringing the infidels down to Orem, Provo in Utah County, right?
That's right.
His co-owner is probably an elder of the LDS, you know. I mean, so.
Right. Yeah.
Yet I give him a lot of credit. He did a polygamy night one night where I think if you brought in one wife got in for half price and the other wife got in for free. But
I love it.
That's awesome. So funny.
I thought you had a beeper or something. What do you call it that you can punch?
the bleep me out. I didn't.
No.
Nothing needs to be bleeped there. That's fine.
No.
It is
That's
true.
good.
Dave Baggett did have that night. He had an IOC bribery night that you bribed your way in the ballpark off the Olympics scandal. So forth. So
I mean, that's so much fun. And yeah, I mean, it's a business and you've got to figure out how to make it work. And it's got to sustain itself. You know, when I got offered the opportunity to go back into Major League Baseball with the Orioles, and I went to my wife and said, well, you know, how do you feel about us selling the team here and me going back and, you know, getting a real job? And I expected her reaction was going to be great. Go to Baltimore. I'm staying here, but it wasn't. Her reaction was, and I think it's a truism of very sound economic principles, according to my wife, which was, it is better to get a check than to write a check. So there you go. That's minor league baseball. You got to write some checks, guys, but never have more fun in your life.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Real quick, you brought up the automated strike zone you guys did. Would you ever consider implementing that? Because I think that's one of the greatest things.
In a heartbeat. It's a technology question. I'm hoping we're going to have the technology available. It's very expensive technology.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we're going to have it available to the league next year. I think the outside of extra innings, the greatest bane of baseball is that the umpires have the discretion to define their own strike zones. I hate that. I think it influences the game in a very profound way. And if you can normalize it, if you can create a strike zone that's not up to someone's whim, it will do the game a lot of credit. Again, think about the difference if how many bad calls umpires make, but think about the difference between a ball being called a pitch being called a ball in a 1-1 count versus that same pitch being called a strike in the 1-1 count. The average difference between a 2-1 count and a 1-2 count is huge, and it influences games every night. Every game you see is
everywhere
by the umpire's discretion, and it shouldn't be that way.
And I think players honestly would have a better mental approach to the game, because it's like, okay, that it's a strike, instead of like, that was borderline, I don't think it was, and then you're upset with the umpire, you're upset for the rest of your at bat, then you've got to let him know on your way back. The manager's got to come out and argue because he just got tossed, and it's a whole time saving thing. I think it would make everybody better. Pitchers have to be better. I think that it needs to be implemented across the board.
I would do it in a heartbeat.
Awesome. Love it. Love to hear it.
Yeah.
I do have one more question, Brig. I don't know about you, but
go ahead.
I've been actually holding on to this one for a few minutes. I'm curious. You mentioned that your players are typically younger than other indie leagues. Is there like a specific age group that you guys kind of try to appeal to, or that you do hire onto your teams to play just so that they can progress more towards the big leagues? Or are you looking for high school kids who don't want to go to college, guys fresh out of college, or anything? Or is it just kind of come show up, if you're good enough, we'll let you play?
Jim, you want to answer that one?
Yes, we do not have an age limit. In fact, it is a violation of state law in 2 of our jurisdictions, at least, to discriminate in under any circumstances in hiring. But we do have an experience limit of 3 years. As I was mentioning before, and I probably got a bit off on it, is we define 3 years in a certain manner. Like I said, the 10 games for the starter, 25 for combo, 45 in a year, and we add it up. And if you have 3 years or less experience, you can play in our league. So we tend to be younger, although I've noted that there are players in the Gulf Coast League, for instance, that maybe played 18 games, which is strange to me because the players we got in the Pioneer League over the years as young players, the young Latins that the Toronto Blue Jays brought into Medicine Hat and so forth, would play a full season. And so I don't understand the playing 18 games. Maybe they worked out, and I understand there's a role for the complex league, but I was unaware of that and how many players might have 3 years in the lower minors and not played 45 games a year or 25 games as a pitcher. And so they may have more years actual experience, but not more game experience. And that's what we're looking for. What is your actual game experience? So 3 years is our cutoff as we define it.
Would you pull from the adult wood bat leagues like the Spokane Hawks that you mentioned earlier? They're still around at the adult wood bat league.
Yeah, the Skyhawks and
Skyhawks.
I don't know that they are. I knew McCoy that started them and so forth with a good friend, but we not only scout, but each day I have a number of players who are letting me know they're available to play in our league, and I pass those on to the managers and general managers. And so we're signing players of one sort or another. And of course, after the draft, the MLB draft, there are a number of players who weren't drafted. And we just had a tryout camp. Mike, do you want to talk about the tryout camp that we just finished in Ogden?
Yeah, we conducted a tryout camp right after the Major League draft took place, which again is now 20 rounds. And so think about across the span of history how many great players were drafted below the 20th round. And
Mike Piazza is the first guy that comes to mind.
Exactly. Yeah.
Everybody will name Mike Piazza as the number one. So we believe that that's an incredible pool of talent that got untapped. So we created a camp right after the draft, and it was a tremendous success. We had, out of the 100 players or so that were at the camp, 16 were signed to professional contracts.
Wow.
So it was an extraordinary success. And as I was saying earlier, we're looking at tryout camps during the off season, winter leagues, a whole range of opportunities for young players to get noticed. I would say, some of the wood bat leagues that are some of the collegiate wood bat leagues certainly have a lot of talent that should be scouted. And there's the draft leagues, and there's going to be a lot of talent out there. I would only hope that we would see, out of all that talent that's out there, a lot more pitchers, because pitching is this year more than ever. I've never seen a lack of good pitching across the board. The minor leagues from the bottom to the top are suffering from a lack of pitching.
That's right. Not only the independent, but affiliated ball, if you look at the averages. But then we also had the COVID layoff year, where a number of people didn't gain the experience over the year, or sat, or did whatever, that may have some impact on that. We're hoping in the second half, which we've just started a week ago, that our pitching numbers will come up to balance.
And we have a ton more questions that we just unfortunately don't have time for. We want to respect everybody's time, but we'd love to have you both back on the show if you're willing. This was, I thought, terribly enjoyable. I mean, I don't know how you put those two words together, but I just did.
Well, I was terrible and Jim was enjoyable. So
you two guys are a kick. I wish I'd known you were in our environs down in the Utah County area, and we would have run some more promotions.
Yeah, well, when we were in Orem, my crew and I were Army. I'm retired Army, and when I was in the service, did some time with the Utah National Guard, and my friends and I would come to the ballpark and sit in Section 8. And in the military, Section 8 means you're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, right? So so we would sit in Section 8 and we'd raise hell, right? There's a beat, Brad. We raised Cain all over the place, and we became known as the Section 8 crew, and it was a riot, and that's the kind of environment you can foster in these lower leagues, and it's so much fun. So we have fun. We've tried to carry that energy forward, and thanks for participating with us in that tonight.
No, real pleasure.
It was a pleasure.
Great. Thank you
Appreciate it,
very
guys.
much, and we'll get back on and do more of this.
Anytime.
Thank you. Baseball family, we hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as we did. Brad says we're made of questions for these people, and I know you are too. So don't forget to jump in the mailbag. They've both agreed to come back on the show. They have other people they want to send onto the show and encourage to join us as well for more discussion. So jump in the mailbag at baseballtogether.com. Send us questions. If we can get it into our next conversation, we will. If we can't, we can always shoot them an email and then maybe forward you the information on Instagram or with Twitter.
Just share it on the pod.
Twitter stuff with birds that do things online. Brad knows about it. I'm ignorant, and it's okay. Somebody followed me on Twitter. Okay, cool story, really quick. Somebody followed me on Twitter yesterday, and he's a local guy. And I was like, well, what is going on? So then I go to for my real job, my day job or whatever, I go to a networking event, and his wife is there and starts talking to me because she read my bio before I was a panelist in this discussion. And she said, my husband, big Cardinals fan, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he's the one that I'm like, is that who that was? She was like, that was my husband. She's like, so send me the link to the shop, which by the way is 9plusus.com. It's NINEPLUS US.com. 9plusus.com. Go ahead and get yourself something nice. We are sporting. I got my KBO shirt on tonight, but we have been rocking the Pioneer League Orem Owl stuff. Brad's wearing his Autism Awareness Baseball Together t-shirt, and we have more coming out. We have some exciting rebranding stuff we want to share with you in the future, so we'll get that out when we get it out. Sorry, it's a little slow. We know we kind of suck at that, but life is hard, Brad.
And it's a long process too, Brig. Let's be honest.
You're right.
It's going to take some time. So
yeah,
we'll get it when we get it.
It's fine.
And they will love it. It will be fun.
Yes.
But in the meantime, don't forget to stop by baseballtogether.com. There is always a link to the shop on baseballtogether.com, just like there's always money in the banana stand. But you can also watch the podcast and listen to the podcast at baseballtogether.com and submit to the mailbag, like Brig said. And even if you don't have a question for them, if you have a question for us or a comment, something you do or don't like about the podcast, we're always looking for feedback. We want to hear from the people who listen to the show. But Baseball Family, that was a tremendous interview. I truly enjoyed myself, and I know Brig did as well. And we will catch you next week.